Hello, everybody, and you're welcome once again to
Hot and Trendy Gist with Jesse and Lucci.
Yes. And if you're just joining us for the first time, now I'm going to say something, and I want you to take that to the bank. You have reached a very, very, very interesting and entertaining channel because this channel basically brings you hot and trendy gist happening around the world and our local environment. And it also comes with some little moral lessons and advice. So stay tuned and enjoy yourself, all right? All right, Jesse, straight on to it. What do you have for us today?
The headline of our first news is South Mid Atlantic Ridge, which is brought to us by the St. Helena's.gov. And this news about a strong magnitude 5.8 earthquake that occurred at 2:49 a.m. Coordinated Universal Time at a depth of 10 kilometers. And also a magnitude of 5.0 sea quake was also recorded in the same region earlier that morning. And this happened roughly 504 kilometers from Saint Helena. Also, no deaths or injuries have been reported. And if you're wondering what St. Helena is, it's a remote volcanic island located in the South Atlantic Ocean.
Hmm. So no casualty, no life
No,
was lost.
no.
Well, I always say this. It's very, very it's a good news for me when I hear there's no casualty after a natural disaster like this. And because we know how, like the one that happened in Miami late last year, by the hours, tens of thousands of deaths reported. And so I'm very happy there was no casualty in this one. And we just hope they are able to, get themselves back together and get their whole system running. And hopefully they don't have any more earthquakes. All right. All right, Jesse, go on.
The headline of our next news is Dentist Infant Son likely cried in crib 4 hours after mom and dad were slaughtered by her ex-husband. And this news was brought to us by the Daily Mail. And this news is about how on December 30, 2025, Monique TP, who is 39, and her husband, Dr. Spencer TP, who is 37, a Columbus, Ohio dentist, they were found shot in their Winland Park home. The couple's two kids were found safe inside the home following an investigation. Michael David Mackey, who's 39, a Chicago-based vascular surgeon, and Monique's TP ex-husband. He was arrested on January 10, 2026 in Illinois or Ilion. I don't know if I say it right, you can correct me. And this news is basically about how a lady, Monique TP, her ex-husband, came into her home at night, like around 2, around there, at, 2 in the morning, 2 a.m. He came to her home, shot her husband multiple times, and then shot her once in the chest. And the she has two kids, one who was 17 months at that time, so right now he might be 2 or going to 2, and a daughter who was 3 years old at that time. The daughter had her own room and the son had his own room, but the son was in the crib. So when the parents died, the son woke up and was crying, probably because he wanted food or wanted his parents just to console him. But there was no one around to console him. And then Dr. Spencer friend from work, because he hadn't seen his friend work that same day, he got after work, he came to their house to see them, heard no one, like no one answered the door, so he went in, and when he got in, he saw that they were dead and saw and heard cries of children coming in from the room. So he went to the kids' room and saw the children there. And he was a bit shocked of what happened. So he called 911 and the police just so
Wow.
they can sort it out. He also said that he had a feeling that the kids hadn't eaten for long because when he came in and when that incident happened, which the police reported at that time, was about 5 hours long. I really don't know, but yeah.
Hmm.
What do you have to say about the news?
Well, I have a lot to say about this because it's quite sad. I was just trying to do some calculations. First of all, the youngest was 17 months, right?
Yeah.
So that would be a year and 5 months. Just a very tender little baby. And the older one should be about a toddler as well.
Yeah, three.
3, yeah. toddler. So you can imagine the incident happened at night, and this friend, this good friend, very, very good friend, I think God should have make we need to have friends like this in our lives. I'll be honest with you. Friends like this are friends that we deserve in our lives. Now, he didn't see his friend at work, and now you can imagine how long that shift was. Shifts are usually 10 to 12 hours, right? Um, or even if it's 8 hours, let's say 8 hours or 10 hours. Now he has finished and he drove down to see his friends. And now, do you do the math? You could imagine how long these kids have been with the lifeless body of the parents. They must have bled out on the floor. Probably that's the first time I've seen blood. You can imagine the trauma is going to live with them.
They didn't see the parents because they were in a different room.
So they didn't go out to see the parents.
No, they're still kids.
Okay, well, good thing then. So they didn't see the lifeless bodies of the parents. They would have been starving for that long, crying. You know, I'm sure they must have heard noises themselves. They must have see, no matter how young they are, they must have sensed something terrible has happened to their parents when their parents do not come for them in the morning to feed them or to get them out of bed. The terror of staying in bed, crying, calling for your mom and nobody's answering you for that hour, for that period of time is could be life changing for them. Well, already they've had a life changing situation already because losing both parents at this age is life changing situation for them already. So I just hope they live a good life. They get put in very good hands who would nurture them and give them the best of life because I don't think they deserve to have this kind of life, to lose their parents at this age. And we just hope they have a good life because it's a terrible, sad news. And talking about America, by the way, that word is Illinois, right? Um, Talking about America, over the weekend, um, Friday, Thursday, late Thursday and Friday, Saturday specifically, there were lots of news coming about the president who has always been on the news now since he got back in the second tenure. Talking about no other person than Donald Trump. Now he made some very very careless remark, which is characteristically his person is his thing to make such bold you know careless remarks sometimes, and one of them got him heavily criticized over the weekend. Now, Donald Trump was criticized for remarks he made during an interview with Fox News on Thursday, in which the president said of NATO troops, "We never, in quote now, we never needed them. We have never asked them for anything." Now, this is Donald Trump being quoted, what he said. He went on to say, they will say they sent some troops to Afghanistan, and they did, but they stayed back a little off the front lines, basically calling these British troops and the whole of NATO troops, aside American soldiers, cowards. Now, we know the NATO troops is made up of soldiers from different countries, right? America, British, German, France, and all other countries in NATO who send soldiers to, NATO missions and all that. Now, Trump categorically said only made it look like only the US soldiers stay in the front lines while others take the back seats and calling them cowards. Now, that triggered a huge backlash from families of soldiers who served in Afghanistan, as well as veterans. Now, when I say veterans and families of soldiers, families of soldiers who served in Afghanistan. Now, mind you, some of them are double amputees now. They've lost their hands and legs. Some of them have spinal injuries. You can imagine the pain for these parents. Some of the parents who have lost their only child fighting for NATO, hearing you say something like this. You can imagine the pain you brought to them. Now, even some politicians from across the Westminster and international spectrum called for Donald Trump to apologize. He should apologize. He should feel sorry for himself for making such a very stupid remark. I'll be honest with you, that was a very insensitive, you know, thing to say about people. Well, Prince Harry was one of those who gave his 2 cents. And he said the sacrifices of troops needed to be respected. You need to respect people who give, who have spent their life serving for the country, put their life in the line for the country and for world peace. Now, the UK Prime Minister spoke to Donald Trump on Saturday, after which the president used his Truth Social platform to praise UK troops as being among the greatest of all warriors. Now, 457 British soldiers have been killed fighting for NATO. 457 British soldiers have died fighting for NATO. Now, it's sad, right? Because you can imagine this number of persons now. Um, they died fighting for NATO, and all Trump would say was the US probably never needed them. Well, um, I don't know how he would go to bed at night after that such a remark, because it was beyond careless for me. And well, I just hope he apologizes to those parents, to everybody who has felt very bad about such a very careless remark. And I just hope the countries of these soldiers don't get so annoyed about this and get to withdraw their soldiers. Because you can imagine if what's it called now? If the soldiers now decide, oh, okay, we're not going to fight anymore for NATO, and they tend to stay back. It's very sad because we have lots and loads of UK soldiers currently fighting for NATO. And also, let me just read out some certain things. Now, British officials, um media highlighted that 457 British service personnel died during the conflict, the second highest number among coalition forces after the US. Yes, the US, they have the highest casualties, of course, followed by NATO. The British soldiers now. Um, yes, Prime Minister has already condemned. I'm just reading some, references to this Trump's careless take. Kestama called the remarks insulting and appalling, while the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, stated that the sacrifice of NATO troops deserve respect. And well, Trump has apologized, and we know that in Gloucestershire they have a NATO base there with over 3,000 workers, armed forces, uh, yes, armed force personnel who work there. Imagine a number 3,000, and you're saying you never needed them. So what are they doing there? 3,000 persons wake up to do nothing. Well, Donald Trump, if you're listening to me, you need to apologize. On behalf of those soldiers, I feel very sad for them. You need to apologize and please do it fast. All right. All right, Jesse, go on. What do you have for us next?
The headline of our next news is alarming truth about the cocaine being sold on Britain streets. Experts warn that the Class A drug is now more dangerous than ever after Daily Mail investigation. And this news is about how cocaine being sold on Britain street in record quantities is the highest strength ever recorded. And also an alarming Daily Mail investigation has they found out about all this information we get. The class A drug is now widely available, completely pure for the first time, when for years previously it had been typically cut with other ingredients to make it more profitable for dealers. But the consequences of this purity is that occasional users can now unwittingly find the drugs unwittingly find the drug is much stronger than they are used to or expect, with worrying health implications. Also, I'll find this comes after an inquest earlier this month heard that a champion horse rider took her own life after arguing with her husband while high on cocaine as they celebrated their first wedding anniversary. Abigail Garside, who's 30, who had earlier posted celebratory photograph and spoken of her happiness, had not intended to take her life following the rum, but had acted under the combined influence of the drug taken with alcohol. The coroner found out. Britain is now the largest consumer per capita of cocaine in Europe and the second highest globally, behind only Australia. Wow.
So globally, behind Australia.
Yeah.
So Australia is the highest.
Yes.
Wow. I thought the US would be the highest.
Same. Because mainly drugs in the UK are more illegal than they are in America. But wow.
Wow. Well, thanks to the limit for that news anyway. And well, we see a lot of junkies on our streets and you know, especially in city centers. I just hope I don't know how these drugs find their way into the streets with all the border, checks and all that. Well, some conspiracy theories will tell you the government they have a hand in, all of this. But the question remains: how do these drugs get into the country in such quantities, in such amount of that can, cause massive harm to the entire country? Anyway, if you're doing drugs out there, I can tell you for free, it doesn't lead. It doesn't. There's no positives about it. It's not positive. There's no plus sides to it. There's always negatives. And you can imagine the young lady who took her life just because she was high. Anyway, I'm sure there are charity organizations out there and government organizations as well who can help you slowly, you know, come out of these addictions if you're someone out there and you're addicted to drugs and what have you. Anyway, that's that. Just live a better life because I'm sure you have people out there who, you know, love you and want you to remain sane, healthy, and alive. All right. Now to my favorite part of this segment of this, which is sports news, like I always say. Now, talking about sports, over the weekend, some games we played.
Some very awful games from Liverpool and Arsenal.
Yeah, Liverpool and Arsenal. Well, talking about Liverpool, the manager before that game was asked by a fan, when will you be replaced by Xabi Alonso? And the captain, um, Van Dijk, was very annoyed and angered by that question and criticized the question and the reporter you know criticized him, and I wonder what question is going to be asked next after the loss now, because that loss was quite a painful one for them because it came at the dying minute of the game. You know, they came from the although they considered first, they thought they had at least they were going to leave with a point, which wants to be a good result for them anyway. But just few seconds for the final whistle, Adley, the Bournemouth player, managed to scramble the ball into the net, and Liverpool yet again left that game without a point. Now, I don't know when last they got maximum points in a game. Probably last year, which feels like a long time ago now. But that's Liverpool. They're obviously not in the title race. Now, talking about the title race, Arsenal failed to at least secure their lead on the table as they dropped 3 points. Now, a few days ago, they had a chance of increasing their lead on the table with about 10 points thereabouts. They failed. And now again, they failed to maintain that lead and they dropped 3 more points. Now, talk about deja vu. They've been in this situation several times, several seasons, and they ended up finishing second when they were supposed to be champions. Now, it has raised a lot of talks, and people have been saying, oh, this is the same old Arsenal, same old, right? And some persons have tried to be on the bright side and say, oh, yes, this is the first time they've conceded 3 goals in a game since December 2023. Well, I don't know what now because it's a little bit sketchy for me right now, I'll be honest with you. So please tell me what you think about this result from Liverpool and Arsenal, especially Arsenal. Do you, do you think Arsenal still stand a chance to win this title, or it's going to be same old Arsenal? Always the near shooter who will always miss the target or miss making a kill. What do you think? You think
For a change this year, I feel like Arsenal is going to win the title because right now no team seems to be. I want no team like this year is actually doing well. Even Arsenal, they're struggling to do well. So
yeah, for real, you have a point there. No team. Yeah, but Arsenal is supposed to be the one eye man now leading the pack of blind people because you know Man City they've been struggling. I'm not even going to talk about Liverpool now because for a defending champion, they've been very miserable. I think that's the best word to use. They've been miserable. The coach has been criticized back for it, right and center. And Aston Villa surprisingly are in the title race. They lost at home last weekend to previous weekend to Everton. It depleted Everton side, and well, they won this weekend.
I
But
won't. Sorry, but I won't be surprised if Man U are also in the run for coming second in the table with this new coach they have.
well, I don't know what you think, what people think. Well, a lot of persons have come out to say, "Oh, now it's the new manager bounce syndrome. They're going to leave that position very soon. And that vibe and all that's going to extinguish very soon. But Manchester are currently in the fourth position.
Oh, that's good. For now, it's good for them.
Yes, at least the top four finish is almost looking likely for them, or a place in the European spots. So that could motivate them to even do better. I'm tipping them to be in the Champions League this year because they've done better. They've sacked their manager, they brought in another one, like a Carrick, and he's done very well. I tell people, Arsenal, Man United, one of the fiercest rivalry in EPL. And Michael Carrick was one of those who's played, you know, in those games back then when the rivalry was very intense. Talking about the time of Arsene Wenger, Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, Ashley Cole, Ruth Van Nistelrooy, Roy Kane. Those are the days of Arsenal Man United fierce rivalry. Well, tell me what you think in the comment section about Arsenal's chances of for the first time in 25 odd years.
25.
Yes,
Wow.
25 years now. Because last time they won was in 2004 when they were in the Invisibles, right? So it's Gonna be 26 years in no time since they last touched the APL trophy. So let's know what in the comment section what you think about that trophy that so eluded Arsenal. All right. Okay. We do hope you've enjoyed your time with us today. And like we always say, if you have, please say one or two things in the comment sections about our entire news, and we'll do justice in replying and you know doing well to reply your takes. And if you've sincerely enjoyed our program for today, please like, share, and subscribe. All right.
And don't forget to turn on your notification bell for more videos for more videos of hot and trendy gist with Jesse and Lucci.
Yes, please. Just turn on notification. Just hit it. It's free of charge. You don't have to pay a dime for it. All right. Okay. Until we see you next time. Stay out of trouble. Stay positive. Peace and love.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.